Peace, Kim. Thank you for writing me back. I did want to take a second to kind of respond to you. I wanted to do it in the video format so you could see my face and so I could be more personable. I would usually like to do this over the phone, so I do regret that I don't have you to talk to directly, but I'm going to try to get everything across that I feel like you could benefit from. One of the first things that you shared with me was the fact that you had been molested by your uncle at a young age, and that your mom necessarily didn't handle it in a way that was beneficial to you or that supported you. You are safe speaking to me. This is a safe channel. I have no ill intent against you, and my only desire is to give you levels of being that allow you to incorporate and facilitate a way of living and existing a life that is moving towards a healed space and freeing up a lot of that heaviness that you've been having to carry. You didn't do anything wrong. I want to first say that a lot of times when we have, because I myself was molested at a young age by an uncle as well as a cousin. And a lot of times we carry these things with us and we don't realize that when we carry it mentally, that it's somewhere located physically in our body. So, one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about was meditation. Meditation is the practice of being able to sit still and to receive from spirit, from source, from um, your teams, because we all have guides that we come into this life with. We all have, um, I call them my benevolent, which is the high vibrational ancestors who actually are here to assist me. Those are family members who transition that you've experienced, as well as um, some family members who live, before you might necessarily remember, but they love you and they here to support you and they're here for you. When you go into meditation, a lot of the times those are the people who are there to receive you. The desire in meditation is really to get back to, I want to say it's coming back home. One of the practices that I've tried to incorporate throughout my day to day is taking a step back, anytime I need to just kind of come back home, and I don't care where I am. And I take the time to be able to sit down and sit still and to just check in, to make the connection, to ask my team what it is that, I am experiencing in this moment, to ask my team to facilitate levels of clarity for me. Um, and I set the intention and then I just speak still and be quiet. um, I want to kind of take a second to say the difference between meditation and prayer. Meditation requires you to listen. Um, when we listen, there is an opportunity for us to gain higher perspectives and for us to see the situation beyond what we may be able to interpret and understand. Prayer is when we set the expectation for ourselves and for the higher, beings that we connect with. It may be source, it may be God. Um, and we communicate to them our desire and intention for what it is that we would like to have an outcome for. This is so powerful because with a lot of the things that I feel like that you could be able to grow in and receive in and just be in, period. A lot of the things require us to connect to the people who actually have a better understanding because they have a higher perspective, because they could see it outside of the situation, on top of the situation. They could see it from all levels. And we may not necessarily be able to have that viewpoint because we're so close to a situation. So, I would say definitely incorporating meditation into your life. Meditation for you could be um, just sitting still and just taking, a couple of deep breaths, deep intentional breaths to allow yourself to kind of come back to you in order for you to just kind of listen to what's always been talking to you. Um, with meditation, you'll be able to kind of understand and kind of locate where you could find the spaces that require your attention. But I feel like you've done a great job at being able to observe your circumstances because um, when we've been raped, there are circumstances where our wounds, as us as women, our wounds are in a space where they are holding on to that trauma. And sometimes, because of how powerful we are, we don't recognize that we may not necessarily actually feel the full effects of what's happened to us until after something's happened in our life to kind of you know, bring us back to ourselves, you know. And I think that that's a big deal, you know. So I would like to support you in stating that there are herbs that you could use. One of the biggest herbs that you could use to help support your womb is raspberry leaf, red raspberry leaf, red clover. Turmeric is an amazing herb for your womb, for womb pain. Ginger is an amazing herb because it allows you to be able to facilitate movement and flow within the blood. Because what you're going to want to do is get some circulation down there in that area to allow you to kind of, on a physical level, be able to sit still and support yourself. But then also on the spiritual level, um, I would go in, to meditation, having a desire to ask, what is it that I could do to hold space for myself at this moment? um, when we have circumstances where we've been in abusive relationships, a lot of times that kind of directly, sits in our self worth. And that's going to go back to, the wound that you have, from, your experiences as a child. A lot of the things that you didn't know, that you weren't taught, that you didn't necessarily get to experience, kind of set up, the story that you tell as far as how you operate and how you function and how you're willing to stay in a situation to be able to sustain or receive certain levels of what you feel are to be true about yourself versus figuring out who you are. That's another thing that you're going to get in meditation, but it's also something that you could get by, researching you. I want to ask that you take the time to actually, put you on the schedule. And one of the first things that you could do is, you can get your birth chart. A birth chart is very, very simple. There's a website called, I believe it's AstroSeek. I'll get that information for you, but it is where you take, the information that you provided to me, your birth date, your time of birth, as well as the location in which you were born in, and you input this information into the computer, and it creates, the alignment of the planets and how they affect who you are and your essence and really kind of what was going on at the time of your birth. This information could be carried with you because it is something that consistently follows you, through your lifetime, and you have the ability to tap into this information. One of the things that I was able to gather by looking at your birth chart was where your Chiron is at. Your Chiron is in Taurus, and it's also in your eighth house. And this is very, very unique due to the fact that a lot of things, that deal with, your values can come off, different because of how, your relationship with your mom, your relationship with your friends are affected. However, when it comes to the Chiron being the wounded healer in our charts. This is the thing that comes to teach us. Um, it's really like a helpmate. It's so crazy, but it comes to teach us how we are to basically heal and assist others. You have the opportunity, to kind of look into this information, to learn and gather. One, when there are circumstances where it's not necessarily, something that you sit in, but it's something that you operate in, you could facilitate, practices that could help support you kind of move out of that space because you could recognize, okay, this is what's communicating. And that's what your birth chart really does all around. It tells you how and who and what you are kind of showing up, and it also tells you how other people perceives you. It tells you what you're going to encounter in life. Um, but with your specific placements, with you having, the Virgo first house, you are meant to heal. You are not necessarily just meant to operate in these situations, in these modalities, in these experiences. You are really, really, really meant to show up in a way for people who are functioning at a level that are healed. And it requires you to kind of show up differently for yourself. Um, but having the Virgo first house is a different energy because you are perceiving yourself to be the Pisces energy, very shy. You kind of stuck and stayed in that space where it's comfortable for you to be um not as, direct, because you could kind of still move through life and gather what you need by operating in the spaces that have worked for you. However, when you come into levels of wanting to operate and live in a space where you're happy, be able to be open, be able to be free, be able to be authentic in your self expressions, and you know that it's true, it's not just something that you're putting on for somebody else. With who you are, it requires you to kind of step in and kind of hone in on all of it that you are operating in. And a lot of the things that I would like to say that may kind of come difficult for me to say because I'm trying to give you all of this information all at once. A lot of the things that we have to come to understanding of is whenever we have circumstances that have affected us in a manner to which we are living and we are functioning and we are flowing in this pain, we are literally deciding and dictating for all of our other experiences to mimic and to be tainted and to be masked in the levels that we've already received. For me, spirituality is making a choice for yourself, deciding for yourself that you are willing to be in a space to where you're choosing different. You're gonna take, the experiences that you had and you're going to heal those experiences, receive the lessons from those experiences, and move forward. One of the biggest things and the biggest ways that you could do that is shadow work. Using some of the modalities, your birth chart, using meditation, taking the time to, make sure even with meditation that you're journaling and that you're documenting what you receive and being patient with yourself and graceful with yourself in that space. With shadow work, you have the opportunity to expose the levels of you that aren't centered anymore. You have the opportunity to, I feel, eradicate certain attachments, to experiences, to places, to people, um, remove people's attachments from you. A lot of the times we're functioning in things that other people would believe us, of things that people feel us to be, versus actually knowing who we are ourselves. So we get in these connections with people where we have desires to want to kind of meet what it is that they believe to be true about us versus actually serving who it is that we know we are. And when you do shadow work, you basically allow yourself to go back to those spaces that are so loud, because they're loud because you haven't had the opportunity or the guidance to know how to kind of face them and address them. But you go back to those spaces. One of the first things I would say is go back to, what happened to you as a child. And if you feel inclined, I would say go back to it at each individual level, because you had experiences, where the incident happened with your uncle. You have experiences where you had the incident happen with your mom. And then there's also a different trace that happened with, your friends when you try to communicate it at that level. I would suggest that you take the time to basically sit and write those experiences out. You're not writing it to just pull up this energy and to live in it and to be even more hurt and even more pain. You're writing it, one, because, as I stated prior, you weren't necessarily physically in your body when this situation happened. So you don't necessarily know, one, where it's living at. You have to be able to sit in the message in order to receive the message. So if you go back to this space by writing it out, one, you're putting it on the paper, you're getting it out of you. You know, two, you take that paper, which I call the event paper, and then you get rid of it. Do whatever you got to do with it. Pour, I'm not going to say that, burn it. Burning is amazing because there's certain elements there. There's fire there, and then there's air. You know, um, the ability to be able to have both of those elements that represent, masculine energy 100%, but it also represents the ability to be able to release, you know, to exhale, to let go. And you let that go with the intentions of no longer picking it back up, you know. You could do this with water, you could bury it with the earth, however you see fit, whatever element you feel like is going to support you in letting it go. Okay. And then you get another piece of paper, and this is my favorite part. You get another piece of paper and you sit with what it is the event was, and you allow yourself to be able to see what it is that you retrieve from that experience. And there's always a lesson. It's so amazing when you get to, get in the habit of being able to do this for yourself. One, you experience being able to feel lighter. You're not aware that a lot of the stuff that you've experienced, because you've continued to go through these missions, go through these experiences, because you continue to replay, these events, because you continue to tell the same story over and over again. You're bringing that energy, you're carrying it, you're physically carrying it in your body. And this is a way of freeing that up to get some of that weight off of you, you know. And it's way deeper than that. It's actually allowing you to ascend, and it gives you, the air that you need to be light, like you are supposed to be able to be, and function and live. When you incorporate the shadow work, you have the ability to, one, have more self worth, because you stop associating with the levels of you that have become complacent and conditioned in what it is that people have decided for you, and you start making decisions for yourself. Another one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the idea of wanting to fit in. A lot of times, with a lot of spiritual people, spiritual beings, as a way of saying, some people are here, just to be here, and then there's some people who are here because they are physically supposed to be here, and they actually contribute to, one side, and they contribute to another side. Then you have people who actually have a mission while they're supposed to be here. um, a lot of people, who do have a mission, go through a lot of hardships. And the reason why you go through hardships in life, the reason why they happen at such a young age, is because the time that you spend wanting to actually give what it is that you have to give to the world, a lot of that time is spent addressing and being in and holding space for the people who experience the things that you went through. And in order for you to be able to help heal, see, and retrieve people out of the spaces that may have become too dark for them, you have to be able to know how to locate them. It's really, really hard to do that if you aren't someone who's actually went through it as well yourself. You know, um, in a nutshell, I want to say that a lot of things have been coming to you to help you and to support you and to hold space for you. And your spirit team has been doing a lot to try to even make you aware that they are there for you. When you see 1111, first of all, one is new beginnings, okay? 1111 represents um, major new beginnings, but it's also a yell because it's repetitive. It's a yell from spirit that's saying, hey, like, we hear you. We're here. We're ready. We're going to show you what it is that we need to show you. But you got to wake up. You got to snap out of it. It is a comeback to yourself so you could be able to get what it is that's actually supposed to be happening for you. You've been dreaming about, a perfect world. One, because this place actually exists. This isn't your home, but we don't know that. You might not necessarily be able to be aware of that until you snap out of what it is that you've been existing in, living in the pain that's kind of become bigger, than what you feel like you have the ability or the capacity to continue to, live in. You have to be able to kind of come back to you, and in your way of coming back to you, I feel like the best thing that you could do for yourself is to just be able to actually come to yourself in meditation. Learn what it is that you are experiencing by being able to have the communication with spirit, being able to actually see the visions and go to spirit and say, well, in meditation, I have the intent to be able to gain more clarity on what it is that I'm experiencing in my dreamscape. What does this mean when, I see these type of flowers? These flowers don't exist here. Is this significant to me as a person? You start to be able to take, the experiences that you have physically into, I feel like the spiritual realm, to be able to facilitate and make a connection of what it is versus what you may not necessarily understand. And you require to be able to remember, it's really, really about just going through the processes of remembering. You're seeing 222. 222 is one of my biggest numbers, but two represents balance, and I feel like your balance is coming in ways of you basically creating and facilitating a different type of being so you can actually be able to exist and live at the rate that you need to live at. Accountant is a weird job for someone who has such, an expansive, mind. Pisces are very, 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 mystic. They're very, very, they need to flow, as a water sign. You need to be able to flow, and you can't necessarily have structure, and accounting requires you to be structured. It doesn't allow you to kind of go where your heart desires for you to go, to kind of be where your heart desires for you to be. So when you go to work and you're operating on a space that isn't necessarily you, and then you sit in a space where you're not necessarily sitting to figure out who you are, and you're trying to go into a marriage where you love a person who wants and desires, you to basically be reciprocate, to be able to um, receive their love and also be able to reciprocate their love. Thank you. Um, and then on top of that, to show up and to direct kids, and to grow kids to be able to do it and make the right decisions are the best decisions for themselves. And you might not necessarily agree with the decisions or the way that you've lived and experienced life. My way of understanding and being able to kind of just be at this moment in my life, to connect to my soul, connect to who I am as a person, is understanding that if the Most High desired for me to process life in a way that I co create, where I experience, where I have a right to choose, I know that all of the choices cultivate the plate that I must eat at the end. And a lot of times we don't want to actually eat the choices that, we've picked. You know what I mean? A lot of times we don't want to actually sit with the plate that we actually, we made. And if you aren't allowing yourself to express who you are, who you feel yourself to be, because you don't know who you are, because you didn't have the opportunity, to actually come to levels of understandings of how you could connect to the parts of you that are right. It makes it very, very difficult for you to kind of show up for yourself in spaces where you may not feel like you're worthy of existing beyond this. You know what I mean? I would suggest that you take time to invest in self-care in a way that doesn't require you to want to do it to make someone else happy. I suggest that you do it to make you happy. You are worthy of the love, that you give. You worthy of you loving you first. You're worthy of you being able to see that no matter what happened to me as a young kid, I have everything that I require, and they never had access to the parts of me that were sacred. And the reason why you know this is because who you are is not your physical body. Your physical body bears the weight of the experiences, right? And the only reason why you feel the weight of what you've experienced is because you aren't taking the time to make the connection between you and the people who are literally standing around you as we speak to help, hold, and support you. And they want to take that weight. But if we don't know that we have spirit guides, we don't know that we have ancestors, if we don't know that we have a team of people here to support us go through life, healing the people that we're meant to heal based off of the experiences that we've had and the things that we've had to learn how to journey through. We don't know that we don't have to carry this. I don't have to keep this in my hand. I could give this to you because you could do better with this than me. I understand that this was a representation of the people who did this. This isn't a representation of me. I had no choice in this experience. Because I had no choice, I have no responsibility of continuing to live life, having to be accountable for other people's actions. You get to start to dictate and delegate where it is that your energy is best served. And how you could do this best now is by creating routines that help support you. So when I say self-care, I really mean rituals that are consistent, that are so valuable, that um, allows you to actually receive the goodness that you are in the people that are around you versus you seeing the goodness that other people are and trying to make yourself feel valuable to have the goodness of others. You know, a lot of the times when we aren't aware of how amazing we are because of how how amazing we are. We don't realize that a lot of the times we want to put people up on pedestals. And when you put people up on pedestals, you take their truth away from them. You take their journey away from them. You take their story away from them. And you make yourself less than to fit yourself into this category of wanting to kind of support the narrative of the lie that's been told to you based off of the experiences that you've encountered with people who stole your ability to choose and say yes or no, right? Um, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that anymore. And you could not do that by allowing yourself to, I would say, basically do spiritual baths. Spiritual baths are where you sit with, herbs that your energy has called to you, and you basically boil them with your intent to receive what it is that you want to receive from those herbs, and you put it in your bath water, and then you go into meditation while you're in the water. The most powerful thing to do, the most quickest way to communicate with spirit, the most direct way to be able to actually understand what are these places that I'm going to, that I'm seeing, what is this that is there. Why is my spirit trying to show me that this isn't, where I'm from? This isn't what I'm used to. That this way of being is temporary, and that there is something else that's external, from this construct that I find myself to be in. And what I mean by that is that beyond this place, that there's other, places, there's other universes, there's other hemispheres, there's other lives, there's other beings. You aren't necessarily who you find yourself to be here in this space, and what you're connecting to is proving to you that there's more for you to experience and to exist in. Um, in order for you to be able to connect to those levels of understanding that help you kind of be fulfilled in a way to where you start to love who you are and love the life that you live in, is for you to basically forgive yourself for how it is that you showed up for you, and give yourself the opportunity to kind of show up in a different narrative in your mind, and in how you operate and how you speak over you and how you speak with you. Um, I wanted to try to address everything um, that it is that you're processing. I feel like that a lot of the things that you are going through are really, really all to show you that you are a leader, and that you're not meant to follow. You're not meant to pour into people who aren't able to hold space for you. You aren't meant to, you know, sit in something that doesn't allow you to feel and breathe and be. And that you have a right to divorce, all the ideas and all of the things that quieted you down and kept you from being able to be and operate and facilitate what it is that you need to facilitate in your life for you to feel and be whole. Um, I would like to save you a trip to the dentist and say that on a spiritual level, you could address the swelling by speaking up and telling your truth. One of the most powerful things is our voice, and what we say is just as powerful as what we do. And what we do is just as powerful as what we act on. And the thing that I feel like would be very powerful for you is to take back the vow of silence that you took on as a very young age, and give yourself permission to speak. Don't quiet down that version of you because the wrong people chose to not necessarily, stand up and hold space for you. You get to go back to that little girl. You get to give her the microphone. You get to give her the stage, and you get to allow her to be centered and be able to show up and say, hey, this happened to me. And I don't want to make other people feel or not feel anything, but this is my experience and I'm going to heal it. But I got to first be honest about what happened to me. And you got to be able to do it without holding on to, like I said, the accountability of other people's actions. You got to understand and know that the people who couldn't hold space for you, those weren't your real friends. And it's okay, because as kids, we don't really know who our real friends are. We're still trying to figure stuff out. They're still trying to figure stuff out. And with you being a spiritual being, trying to fit in with people who aren't spiritual, who don't have a mission, a lot of the things that you were going through and journeying through in life were meant for who you are to be right now, not necessarily just then, you know? And when you come into the levels of allowing a lot of all of these things that you've been carrying on you to kind of like drop off, and you start to doing your meditation, start taking walks, start allowing yourself to, listen to music and allow yourself to sing, allow yourself to dance, to move your body, allowing yourself to, like I said, allow the water to support you, allow the air to support you, putting your feet on the ground and grounding your feet. Grounding is a powerful, powerful thing where you allow yourself to say, hey, daughter, earth, hey, earth, hey, ground, hey, spirit, hey, universe. I'm asking that you take all of this, crazy, crazy, crazy electrical energy just flowing through my body. And I'm asking that you ground it so I don't short circuit. You take it and give me back the vital energy that I require, that allows me to be centered and still in this space. And you could do that anywhere. These are things that you could do anywhere. Clear your space in your home, clear your energy, by being intentional about trying to have self, gratifying situations versus having people pleasing situations where you desire for people to have the best of you while you get what's left over. Set intentions for you to show up for you first. And that way, when it comes to you being able to be, a wife who has the voice to show and to speak and to express your true desires to your husband, you have energy for that. That way, when you go to looking at, the four little babies that are still at home with you, you have energy to give those little ones, because you've already started your day off by deciding for you what you need from you first. So everything and everybody else is going to have what they require, because you're coming into the situation whole. Um, I admire you for not giving up. I admire you for knowing that there's something more. And I'm happy that you were able to see in me that you do have a place that's safe. But I want you to know that you're the most safest place. And I want you to believe in yourself. Believe yourself for the power and the strength that you have, not because you've had to, but because you are powerful, you know. And you'll see that the more you sit with yourself, the more you go into meditation, the more you allow yourself to understand, what it is. Like I said, remember when your team is communicating to you and they're sending you, the numbers, a lot of people call those angel numbers. Um, I believe that those are opportunities where the world might be busy, but spirit is quiet. You know, spirit has the ability to kind of slip in there and just kind of say, hey, here, boom, you know. So when you see 222, they're saying major balance. This is balance. You have balance in your family. You know, six, the total sum of 222 is six. Six is family. Allow yourself to be able to understand that, your team, your support, the people who are here to love you, who honor you, who always have been here present in every single situation that you ever went through. And you will understand how they've showed up for you. You just might not see it yet, but when you communicate and you make the connection between yourself, your experiences, and what it is that you were meant to learn and receive from those, you'll be able to be in a space to where you could garner a higher level of being and existing. I hope that I've been helpful. I hope that what I said has made sense. I hope that you have a seed of hope in knowing that you never have to count yourself out. You never have to make firm decisions of who you are, because you are so much more than what you know yourself to be. And the best way for you to come to a level of understanding of what that is and how you could better operate and show up in the spaces that feel authentic to you is creating levels of being and operating and functioning that are powerful, beyond measure, and that help you to ascend beyond this physical space that does feel hard, that is, you know, is heavy, you know. Um, Keep going, keep communicating. Um, I would love to been able to, say it in a different way, but I do feel like I've given you a lot of things that are very, very helpful to you. I honor you in your journey and being able to facilitate levels of healing to yourself, because I know that you're going to be a powerful healer to others. The things that you've went through, um, abuse. I was in an abusive marriage before. I had someone who family members who mishandled me before. I've had issues where my mom didn't necessarily support me when I communicated to her what had happened. And I understand that looking at it from the outside in, after being the kid who went through that and knowing that the adults didn't show up, as an adult yourself now, and it may feel like that is over with and you can't do anything about it, but you can, and you could start first by surrendering the weight so you could get the lesson out of it, so you could move forward with the knowledge to be able to kind of render levels of how other people could be in their true essence when they go through and when they've went through certain things, so they could live in a life that feels like it's theirs versus feeling like they're an intruder or an imposter in their own life. I congratulate you for choosing to move forward in love. I wish you the best with your babies, and I hope that you allow yourself to continue to heal. Bye bye.